Hello.
Hi Sanskar, how are you?
Hi, sir. Fine, sir. How are
Good.
you?
I'm also good. So Sanskar, let me just brief you how we'll be taking it through this mock interview. So for the
Hmm.
next 1 hour, I'll be asking you two DSA questions first, right? First one would be relatively easier, and the second one would be of medium to hard level difficulty. Post
Yes,
which
sir.
I will ask some questions regarding what you have mentioned in your resume.
Hmm. Yes, sir.
Another formality, yeah, before starting, let's just introduce ourselves, though just for the
Hmm.
sake of having it. So my name is Anand Pandey, and currently I'm working as an ST1 in Flipkart. And the team currently in
Hmm.
which I am, we prevent fraud from happening on Flipkart. So I work at backend here, and yeah, it's pretty much all about me. You may go next.
Okay. Okay, so I am Sanskar and I am currently pursuing BTech in Computer Science and Engineering at NIT Delhi. And I am currently learning and exploring one stack in web development. For real life experience, I did intern in Visit Health, a health startup, in the last summer when I was in the summer break of second year. And after that, I also did some projects in that stack too for grasping more about that tactic skills. Apart from these, I am currently learning DSA skills and uh, giving contest on lead code and code chef. And apart from these all things, I'm also volunteering alumni cell as general secretary
Mhm.
of NIT Delhi, and I am also programming head at technical club of NIT Delhi, as well as I am looking of the calling department of training and placement cell of NIT Delhi. So apart from studies, these are my things which I'm doing in my college life.
Nice. So this intern which you did after second year, was it remote or you went somewhere in
It was remote work from
okay,
home.
okay. And this company is situated in where
It is Gurgaon based company, I guess. Gurgaon or Noida based company.
okay, nice. ठीक है संस्कार, I'm pinging you the link of Google Doc. ठीक है, try opening it once.
Hmm.
If you have edit access, just let me. ठीक है, तो I'll tell you the first question. Just hear me through, and then if you have any questions, you can ask. ठीक है, तो
Yeah, yeah.
okay, so let's say कि as college students we all buy books, right, for some semester and all for studying purpose. So let's say कि you bought some books, or you bought one book and you bought it at a
Hmm.
certain price. Now you read it and the semester is over, and now you want to sell it. So as a student,
Okay.
you don't have money, so you want to, study well and then maximize your profit. You should buy it
Hmm.
at a lower price and then try to sell it at a higher price to get the maximum money that you can get from that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So let's say
Hmm.
ki I give you a prices array, right, of it, which will contain the price of that book on a certain day. So let's say ki it is like this. So this means ki the price of book on first day is 8, on second day is 1, on
Yeah.
third day is 3, 4, and so on. And you
Okay,
can
okay.
make one transaction. Okay. One transaction
Okay,
means
one
one
transaction.
time buy, one time sell. Okay.
Sure.
And
Fine.
your aim should be to get maximum profit as much as you can by buying it once and selling it once.
Okay. Okay. So, uh, is this the whole question?
Yes.
So this is our input array, right?
Mm.
So, at day zero, right, or day one,
Mhm.
uh, the first condition would be that you can only sell book if you have bought it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and other thing is like you can just have one transaction. That is the condition.
Yep.
So at a particular day, we have three options. Like what we can do is like we can buy book, we can sell book, or you can do nothing.
Right.
you just simply skip that day, right? We can perform all three operation, like we can write a recursive function. Okay, so like we can have a function first contain the day, as like first parameter would be day, then another parameter would be like the if we are able to buy or not at that particular day. So like we can just have a variable like int, we can have a variable buy, like if we are able to buy then it would be one, or if we or if and if we bought then it would be like it would be its value would be set to 0,
Okay.
so that in further transaction we don't buy that book again, like we only have to sell. Like what we can do is like at first if we buy a book, then what we are happy क्या हो रहा है कि sir we are like spending money, so we will just do minus prices of that day, like itna we are giving this much amount in buying book, right? And we can just produce further like this one, and if we bought book on that day, then just we would set the buy variable as 0, like we can't buy that book further.
Okay.
Okay. And sir, before executing this condition we can have a check, like if we can buy, so we will just do if buy, right? कि हम खरीद सकते हैं या नहीं उस दिन वो book. So we will proceed like that. And another condition would be like if buy is not, then what we can do is we can sell that book, so it would be second option, right? So if selling book, we would gain profit, so we are just adding this prices of I, right? And we will move further. And as discussed earlier, the third option would be like we will not do anything, right? So we would just move in the further index, and we will not touch by, leave it as it is, right? So these are the three options at a particular time. Maybe we would have two options depending on the buy variable, like if we are able to buy or not. So this would be the solution, and we can have a base condition like if I equal to prices dot size, then we would just I greater than equal to prices dot size, then we would just return 0, like that would be the base condition.
Okay.
And we would just simply return the maximum of out of these three, maximum of first option, second option, and third option, right? So
Okay.
this
I have few questions. Okay, number one, we need to maximize our profit. Okay. So,
right.
going forward, let's say we are at a particular date. How come will we know कि we have to buy it today or we have to leave it and buy it on the next day? Are we
Okay.
buying it every day or how are we doing?
Okay, so I missed a part here. Like if we have bought a book on that particular day, right? So what we are doing is that we are setting the buy variable to 0. Initially, we will set the buy variable to 1. Like at this day 1, we can buy the book, right? So here buy is like a Boolean variable. Okay. So like if it is 1, then we can buy, and if it is 0, then we can not buy. We can just sell that book, right? And we also need to track one more thing, like since we have only been allowed one transaction, right? So what we can do is like if a transaction is completed, okay, so like if we are selling that thing, we can set buy to -1, right?
Okay.
Why we are doing this is like if we have completed one transaction, then we are not allowed to do any further transaction. Pretty
Yes.
clear. So what we will do is like we will also put a check condition at starting, like if buy is -1, like we will just return 0. So this code will not be executed. It would only be executed if buy is not equal to -1, right?
Okay. So is it the case that we are going to try buy and sell for every day and then
Yeah,
taking the
it is
maximum
like
out of all?
it is like that. Uh, like we
Okay.
can just buy, and so we will try all possibilities, but
Okay.
I guess it would exceed the time limit. So
Yes.
should I come to the optimized approach?
What would be the no, first what would be the time complexity for this particular case? Interested in knowing this.
Okay, so at each stage, suppose we are having, since we are having n stage, and at each stage, like we are having a three option, right? Either buy or sell or do nothing. Okay, So it would be 3 to the power n, but since all these three operations couldn't be performed together, like we can only perform at max two operation. Like since we can buy at particular day or sell at particular day, so it would be 2 ki power n, right?
Yes, makes sense now.
Yeah.
And space complexity?
Okay. Space complexity would be the stack space would be like auxiliary stack space. It would be n O of n.
We anyways need to optimize it, but it will be immensely
Yeah.
slow. So how can we go ahead and
Mhm.
optimize?
Okay. So the first approach which I would like to introduce is like since we are using recursion, so we can try memoizing this thing, right?
Okay.
We can do memoization here. So we can have a state index since these are the two variables, right? You can see I and by.
Yes.
So what we can do is like we can create a DP of index and by variable,
Okay.
right? And we can just save the state each time we are returning the answer, right? Like here we are returning the maximum part. So what we will do is like we will store this in the DP of I comma I and by, okay?
Okay.
And since we will have a check here after by equal to -1. Since if by is equals to -1, then the part is like we will not execute that code, right? We already did our transaction. So after here we can have a check like here if DP of I comma I and by is not equal to whatever the initial value it is there. So we can just return the DP of I comma by here. So what will happen is like at this will reduce our time complexity if we are using DP, and we will just store here like let me do this part here. Yeah. So this is the memoization approach for this question.
So where
And
exactly did we cut time? We stored it that
uh,
maximum value,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Like these some states would be repeating. Should I show you that,
No,
or
it's
it's
fine.
very
It's
clear?
fine. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
ठीक है. So we have cut down complexity from order of 2 to the power n to what will be the time complexity now?
It would be O of n, linear
Okay.
time complexity.
And
And
space?
space would be like we are using a DP array. So the auxiliary stack space would be same. Apart from this, DP space would be added. Like it would be a matrix of size n into 2. So it would be 2n or O of n only. Single
Uh,
DP 2 into n, sir. Like it would be 2 into n. Let it to be 2 into n. Like since we are having two states, right? By could be 0 or 1, and there are n states. So 2 into n matrix, that is n.
okay, by is just a Boolean variable. So either it
Yeah,
will
yeah,
be
yeah.
0 or 1.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Can we space time complexity is fine? Can we further cut down on the space complexity? Do we need
Yeah, yeah.
2D?
We can.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We can. What we can do is like while traversing from left to right, we can have a track of the minimum value, right?
Yes.
Till minimum value till that point, and we can just subtract the and let's suppose like we are at index 3 index 2, right, considering
Okay.
as a zero base index array.
Okay.
So what we can do is like we can have minimum as 1 right here, and the maximum would and let we just assume that we will sell on that particular day. Like
Okay.
at if we are at index 3, then suppose starting from day 0 we will sell that at day 2. So we can just have a track of the maximum profit. So it would be much easier. Like we can do this with a single for loop.
Yep.
So what we will do is like, so I'm writing the pseudo code. So the time complexity for this would be reduced to, it wouldn't be reduced, like it would be O of n time. But yeah, we can definitely reduce the space complexity to O of. It would
Yes.
be, since we're using only two variables, so it would be O of 2, that is O of 1, right? So
Yes.
I think this would be the most optimized part.
Yep. It's perfect. far more better than what from where we started. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was all for the first question. Let me just bring you the second one. Second.
So
Just go through it
you are
once.
a
If you
hike.
have any problem, then ask.
Yeah. You are a hiker
Okay.
preparing for an upcoming hike. You are given heights of a 2D array of size row into column, where height row column, okay, represents the height of this cell. Okay. Do we have any sample test case here?
Yes, but the answer to this sample test case, I would want from you if you have understood the question.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. First understanding of my question is like this, like we need to we need to reach the bottommost cell, right? Like
Yes.
this one, this 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to reach the cell row -1 and col -1, right?
Yes.
And we are starting start position. Let's cut it short. Start position is like 0, 0, right?
Yes.
And the directions which we are allowed to move is like by or four directions, right? Up,
Yep.
down, left, and
Right.
right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And like this line arrow deferred is the maximum absolute difference in height between two consecutive cells of the root. So is it like if we are traveling like this, like 1, 2, 2, 2, 5, like suppose we are traveling like
Mm-hmm.
this, one,
Mm-hmm.
two, 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 five,
Mm-hmm.
then like if we it is like the height, like the answer for this would be 3, right? Like this is the maximum difference between 2 and 5
Yes.
for
In this
this path.
whole path, yes. In this whole path, whichever two
Yeah.
states has the maximum difference, that will be your answer. And you need to minimize the overall answer. Did you get
Okay.
it? So for this path,
Yeah.
it will be 3.
So
Then you need to search for some other
okay,
path and see if anything
other path.
lesser than 3 exists for this matrix or not.
Okay. So analyzing this test case, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can have this path first, 1, 2, 2, 2, 5, like which we discussed now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So this would be 3, right? Then
Yes.
again, if we take this path 1, 2, 8, 3, 5, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For this it would be 6, right? 2 minus
Mm,
8,
1, 2, 8.
maximum
Yep. Yep.
8, 3. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like for 1, 3, 5, 3. So first we will find out all the paths, possible paths, right?
Okay.
And so should I write down all the possible paths?
All the you can write, but
Yeah, then,
if
but
you
it
are
would
able to
take a bit
spot the
time.
answer, can you see the answer key?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
is?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, answer would be two, I guess. Like if we
Yes.
follow this path 1, 3, 5, 3, 5,
Yes.
then
That's
the
right.
then the effort would be two, and I don't think any path is having minimum, right?
Yep. 2 would be it for
So,
this case. So let's just keep writing all of the
mm,
paths and straight away come to the answer. Yes.
mhm.
So how do you
Okay.
think we can move ahead? If you have any optimized approach in mind, let's just simply jump
Mm.
onto it first. No need of going brute force wise. It's fine.
Okay. So, mm, like suppose we are at let's call this matrix A, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at this particular cell, we are having these four options. Our target, like if we are starting from 0, 0, right?
Mm.
So we have to reach this point. Okay. So like we can have a function which accept these two things, I comma j, and it may accept more thing, but let's just keep it there. Like while discussing approach, if I'm able to figure it out, I will write it down.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, we can have a base condition. Like since we're starting at the this position, so
Mm-hmm.
we have to move at this position. So we can have a base condition like if I equals to let the size be row and column. So row -1, and so this would be the point, right?
Okay.
Right. So this would be the base condition, and at this point we would return the uh,
You'd return the answer which we are saving. Where are we saving the answer?
like sir, what I'm thinking is we can have a variable here. Let's
Mm-hmm.
call it ABD, absolute difference, right?
Okay.
And we can have a ons right here, like the
Mm-hmm.
final result, and we would
Okay.
set it to int minimum. And whenever we are reaching this point from the starting index, what we will just do is like we can update ans to max of ans comma this ABD part, right? Like
Answer, we would initialize it into minimum or should we initialize it into maximum?
okay, so we need the minimum effort, so it would be initialized as max. Sorry, sir, for this
Mm-hmm.
part. Okay, so before checking this base condition, we can have a like validity check, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
so, we just need to write a simple function is valid. So we would just check it, the index it if it is valid or not. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going too deep on that part, right?
Okay.
So
Also,
we
the
would just return.
updating part, we have initialized it at maximum. Na? It will be minimum. Then answer is equals to minimum
Yeah.
of what we
Sorry,
are
sorry.
getting. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So this would be the base condition.
Mm-hmm.
And what we can do is like at each point we have four options, right?
Okay.
So I guess we can, since we are updating answer here, we can keep the return time of this function as void, right? We don't
Okay.
need to return anything. So let it be this part. And what we can do is like we would have four options. So let's call first option as FO. And what we can do is like at each step, what we are gonna do is like we would just traversing these four directions, right?
Okay.
And we would update the ABD value at each point,
Okay.
right? For suppose like if we are starting point one, then if we are starting at starting point one, then we can go to one to two, one to
Okay.
one to three. Then we would just update the absolute difference as F I. अरे, कहाँ चला गया? हाँ,
Okay.
traverse in
Travels
all
in
four
all four
direction.
directions.
हाँ,
Update the
ABD value,
ABD
absolute difference
value.
value.
Okay.
Hmm. So we would update the ABD value.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be quite simple as like I comma j, and ABD value would be absolute of uh, uh, matrix is A, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
A I comma j minus in the whichever direction we are traveling to,
Okay.
right? But thing is, we can have a check here. Like what we are doing is like we are referencing to the part of the matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
AI comma J. So if the cell is not valid, then it might give error. Like you are trying to reference something that is not in the bound.
Mm-hmm.
So we can just do a validity check right here.
Okay. Sanskar, 1 minute.
Okay.
Just let it. Let's just cut here. Okay. We have done the validity. I will write simple key. We have done validity. Valid. Okay. Valid checks.
Okay.
This is fine.
Hmm.
But
Fine.
what I
Fine.
need to ask is key, how are we doing it? Like in this process in which we are traveling, we are not checking anything, right? We are blindly going for all directions and just getting minimum out of it. So what do you think would be the time complexity of the solution on which we are heading?
Yeah, it would be 4 to the power n. Like
Ah.
at each point we have four, then it would be more than 4 to the power n. Like since
Hmm.
we are having m into n states,
Hmm,
right?
hmm, hmm,
Then it
hmm.
would be 4 to the power m into n.
Yes, I would want
Yeah.
you to somehow, I got it. This would be the brute force approach.
Hmm.
Ki go for all the
Yeah.
directions, go for all the paths and take minimum out of it. I got it.
Yeah.
This is what we are.
Okay,
But
okay. What we
I
can do here
drop
is,
you a hint here. You are getting
Mhm.
it right. It's kind of we are traveling inside a graph of thing, you know, if we consider each block as a node,
Yeah.
and all we need to find is for the path which gives us the minimum result among the values.
Yeah.
So can
Mhm.
we say ki it's somewhat related to finding the shortest path in a graph? Can we somehow relate this question there?
Yeah, we can think on that side. Like, since we are, yeah, we can consider the difference as edge, and we can, yeah, we can have it like that.
Mhm.
So then the question would be, like, we are given different, like, suppose these two are the vertices of the graph,
Mm-hmm.
then the weight of this edge would be the difference between these two, right?
Yep.
Okay, so
So if we move in the direction of minimum weights, what will happen?
mhm. At each point we would be moving up with the minimum weights, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me think. Mhm. Yeah, so like what I am getting through after your hint is like we can use a priority queue which stores the minimum absolute difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be a minimum priority queue,
Okay.
right? And at each point, like we would push the neighbors of that particular node. Suppose the node is like ai comma j,
Mm-hmm.
so we would push the distance along with we if we're at ai comma j, then we will push the distance of all the four adjacent nodes if it is valid along
Mm-hmm.
with the node. We can have a queue of this type, like we can have uh pq of vector of int would be fine, I guess.
Thinking
Yeah,
of
yeah.
storing a distance
And
and
coordinates.
coordinates. Okay, fine. Let's just write
Yeah.
it and move it. Distance
Okay.
of coordinate type in priority queue, right? In
Yeah.
PQ. And then you will move ahead by writing a comparator based on the distance, right? For let's say a current node, we are at a current node, right?
Yeah.
So what all will we update from, let's say here, this is my current node. And then from here, we will check all the four neighbors if they
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah. If all the four
Okay.
neighbors are valid.
Then, uh,
Hmm. Then
then we put them in our priority queue.
yeah, with
So
the
at this time, what
yeah.
all will we update?
Okay, so at this point, like since we need the maximum, we have to calculate the minimum effort. So we will need to first
Mm-hmm.
update the answer. Like suppose we are going from a coordinates I comma j to any other coordinate, then what would be the
Mm-hmm.
distance of I comma j? Suppose the distance is d. So we would see
Okay.
that if that distance is if the next distance is greater than that, then we would update it. Like we would
Mm-hmm.
take the maximum of that distance since
Yes.
the effort is the
This
maximum
is
part.
Yes,
Yeah,
this is what I wanted to hear. Maximum of
yeah.
distance, or you say
Uh,
current node
current
distance.
current node distance. Yeah, that would be the top of the
Okay.
priority queue. Yeah,
And other would be just coordinates.
coordinate. Yeah,
Cool.
coordinate
Okay, so
positioning.
okay, this will work. I got it. Using this, you eventually will get the path with the minimum effort. So,
Yeah,
can you comment on the time complexity of this solution? What do you think would be the time complexity?
since there are m first, let me write it down here. M into n states. M is the row and n is the number of
Mm-hmm.
column. And at each
Mm-hmm.
stage, we are just popping out all the things of the size of the queue. So
Mm-hmm.
we can keep it like this: m into n, or m, we can just have n, and yeah, it would be this n, or we can just have m into n, but it would be like n square. Then since it is log, then 2 will come outside of this bracket, so it would finally be this, I guess.
Okay, you are writing it in when m is comparable to n, right?
Yeah,
Almost
yeah,
equal.
yeah,
Then it will be 2.
yeah.
Okay, so for the sake of it, if let's say we are not given any bounds on m into n, so let's
Mm,
just write it for this.
yeah,
You're saying if m and n are same, then it will be
yeah,
n
but
square, then
but
2 will
but
come forward. And
it would never be this case. Like the size of the queue can never be this much long.
yes,
Yes, so
because
yeah.
eventually,
So
yeah,
let's cut it
got
down
it.
short. Like we can use any variable. Like it would be anything within the range. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay, cool. And the space complexity would be?
Space complexity would be the space of the priority queue. That would to be, it
Mm-hmm.
would
The
be
max
a
can be?
it max can be of m into n.
Cool. And do we have any name for this algorithm which we implemented?
It is uh
Similar
what
to
Dijkstra's
Dijkstra.
Dijkstra's, yeah, yeah. Like
Yes.
Dijkstra.
Okay. Cool.
Uh,
ठीक है संस्कार. So this was it, which I wanted to ask. Now DSA questions are over. Can
hmm.
you just quickly share your resume also once on your screen?
Yeah, yeah,
So you mentioned that you worked as a backend intern in your recent internship, right?
yeah, yeah,
And you made APIs, backend
yeah.
code
I
APIs for various.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so were they REST APIs or SOAP APIs or gRPC? What
It was REST APIs.
REST API? And how come can you say कि those were REST APIs? How can we say कि some API is a REST API and not a SOAP API or gRPC?
Sir, I only know about REST API. I don't know about those other APIs you are talking about. Scope and GRE. Sorry.
Okay,
We'll try to figure it out.
okay. ठीक है. So also just go ahead and read about once about REST APIs. When do we say an API is a REST API?
Yeah,
That is like an architecture. It
yeah,
follows 4 5 principles that there should be stateless communication between the server and client and stuff like that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there are certain protocols when you say your API is a REST API and not SOAP API. REST earlier people used to write SOAP APIs, SOAP.
Okay, SOAP APIs.
SOAP, REST, and
GRE.
you'll primarily see differences. You'll primarily see differences between SOAP and REST, and nowadays there is a remote procedure called RPC. So Google
RPC.
developed one, so they call that as gRPC.
Okay, gRPC. Right.
These personal projects, yes, I saw
Yeah.
these. What kind of a database is a Firebase? It comes into under NoSQL or SQL.
It is a NoSQL database, sir. Firebase.
Okay, and in what manner it stores data? Can you comment on that?
Like data are stored in the form of objects, I guess, as MongoDB does.
Okay,
Like
a key value
yeah, key
or what?
value, and like it is a we since it is a NoSQL, then we have a ID for a particular thing, and rest all the data are stored
Mhm.
in that way. Same as
Okay,
MongoDB, like it is also NoSQL.
okay, cool. And any since it was one of your personal projects, any reason of moving ahead with a NoSQL DB rather than choosing a standard SQL database?
Like I did one project in the second year, like it was the part of the coursework. So there I used the MySQL part, so just to get a good experience over the NoSQL part, and I use that.
Okay,
Like in this Firebase is generally used for hosting. I didn't use this Firebase for the DB purpose. Like
okay,
just for hosting purpose, I used Firebase here. But yeah, to get the graphs
okay,
over the NoSQL part, I did another project which included the MERN stack, and it is known as Mystery Up. And here I use MongoDB.
okay. So you used this DB just for X. exploring. So,
Yeah,
but do you know the advantages of having a NoSQL? Or when if I say you to design something, when will you be able to predict ki, it is good to move ahead with a NoSQL DB and when not to move ahead with a NoSQL DB?
okay. So the one part is like the speed part. So
Okay.
and like NoSQL, like according to my experience, what I've seen is like that if you're using NoSQL, then you can get the remote database access much more easily as compared to the SQL part.
Okay.
Like we can use MongoDB Atlas, but I tried to figure out for MySQL, but I wasn't able to figure out something like that. Like we need
Mm-hmm.
to, and it is also like it takes more time, like MySQL for establishing connection and these all
Okay.
things.
For the connection part.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. These all, anyways, you can optimize. Any comments on schema? What do you think? Schema
Schema
wise,
schema
any
wise, as
flexibility that NoSQL offers over SQL?
like one means like when I was using MySQL, then one thing was like I was facing much issues in that foreign key dependencies and all those stuff. These are
Mm-hmm.
things were like I didn't face any such things in MongoDB, and it was pretty easier as
Mm-hmm.
compared to MySQL. Apart from this,
So,
schema wise,
can we
uh,
say कि NoSQL DB provides you better flexibility in terms of schema if you're initially if you have not designed any schema and you don't have any such
yeah, yeah, yeah.
DB pattern
We
installed?
can say I like currently this I'm working more on this project. Like I'm just doing some part
Mm-hmm.
day to day or like on a weekly basis to just keep a grasp on these all topics. So what I was able to
Mm-hmm.
figure out is like if I needed to add something else, column or row in this, not column and row.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we need to add any other entity, we can say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is
Okay.
much easier in MongoDB. So yeah, that flexibility part is pretty
Mm-hmm.
much right.
And you mentioned that you were facing issues in a foreign key constraint in SQL. So, is
Hmm.
there any foreign key constraint in MongoDB?
Like I read once, like there is something as foreign key, but I haven't used something foreign key till now. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Remaining, I think it's fine. It's your resume looks a balance of front end and back end projects.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine to me. So, yep. For the feedback part, I would say if I summarize the whole interview,
Mm-hmm.
I think ki, you were really good with the first question. Ki you have started with the brute force and then went on a step ahead in each and every approach. That was
Mm-hmm.
really nice.
Mm-hmm.
The second question was also you were moving in the right direction. However, I wanted this Dijkstra's is like very common algorithm. ठीक
Yeah,
है?
yeah, yeah.
So the time taken to jump on to that, the clicking part, I think you can improve. Somehow I feel ki the touch with graph algorithms is a
Is
little bit less.
yeah, yeah. Okay, sir.
Hmm. On the resume and all part, I
Mm-hmm.
think building projects is one thing,
Mm-hmm.
but for clearing interview purpose, you'll need to, just go through the definitions and all of these ones.
Okay.
Just blindly go on internet and type questions related to each of the technology that you have used and
Mm.
read the first 50 questions and just memorize it somehow.
Okay.
Because at the time of building, I know ki we just search blindly on the internet and just go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
do what we want to apply. But
Mm.
for the sake of interview purpose, it's better ki if you have these things remembered in your brain, you can just put it ahead in front of interviewer. It will be very more easier for you.
Yeah, yeah.
If you have mentioned DB, for sure somebody will ask you what all DBs you have explored, why this one, why not that one. So be
Okay.
prepared for these kind of questions. Ki why this, why not? Just read about the advantages, disadvantages that each offers.
Yeah.
Know the limitations. Ki when can we go ahead with this? When can we move ahead with this?
Mm-hmm.
And like instead of you can it's a very genuine answer ki I have done I've used Firebase for the exploring purpose, but
Mm-hmm.
it would have been better if you said ki I have used Firebase, this offers these things which you
Yeah.
can't get in MySQL. However, in
Mm-hmm.
MySQL there is these are the advantages. which are not found in Firebase. So it shows that you have understanding of both the DBs. However, you wished to move ahead with Firebase just for exploring.
Yeah.